Welcome to the Lounge Lizards podcast. It's so good to have you here. It's a leisure and lifestyle podcast founded on our love of premium cigars, as well as whiskey, travel, food, work, and whatever else we feel like getting into. My name is Gizmo, and tonight I'm joined by Rooster, Poobah, Senator Pagoda, and Grinder. And our plan is to smoke a cigar, drink some whiskey, talk about life, and of course, have some laughs. So take this as your 49th official invitation to join us and become a card-carrying lounge lizard. Plan to meet us here once a week. We're going to smoke a New World cigar tonight, share our thoughts on it, and give you our formal lizard rating. We assess whether this cigar lives up to its hype as the quote-unquote Cuban Killer, Poobah campaigns for a lizard gin tasting, and we discuss the Derek Jeter documentary, all among a variety of other things for the next hour. So sit back, get your favorite drink, light up a cigar, and enjoy as we pair Yamato Japanese Whisky with the Atabey Brujos. A frequent request from listeners tonight on the pod, the Atabey Brujos Robusto, which is a 52 ring gauge cigar by a little under 5 inches, 4 7/8. I have heard more about Atabey from listeners requesting us do this cigar than any other New World that we've ever had requested.
Is this right through the email?
Email, Discord, on different servers, Instagram. Atabey is number one by far.
Remember, Gizmo's deeper in the interwebs than we are.
Yeah, I'm on the dark
He
web.
gets everything.
I respond from time to time.
You do a
on
nice job.
Instagram.
Yeah.
Because I also have access to the Instagram, but
Yeah, so message us.
sometimes, but message us.
Message us. You may get Poobah.
You may get me. You'll mostly get Giz.
So yeah, this is an interesting cigar with an interesting story. We'll get to that in a minute. But first, boys, let's cut this thing. See what we're getting on the cold draw. I've heard so much about these cigars. I've never had one. I don't think anybody in the room has had one. Supposedly, there were rumors at one point.
Grinder has.
Grinder's had one?
So a senator.
Oh, excuse me. I didn't know that.
I have. I'm hoping this is going to be different than my first experience.
I keep hearing that this is the Cuban Killer, and it was at one point rumored that it was actually made with Cuban tobacco, and it had this whole underworld myth about it. I don't think that's the case, but marketing is marketing. So.
Can we look how pretty it is?
It's really nice. So it's a very light wrapper. I mean, it kind of reminds me of Ras, I guess, a little bit, that kind of look to it, but not as rustic.
Lighter than Ras.
Even lighter, yeah.
I mean,
It's
honestly,
like
this is closer to a Connecticut for
This
me.
is a Connecticut.
It is, yeah.
Well, the seams are totally invisible. Outward, just cosmetically, it's gorgeous outside of the fact that when you look at the label, it's clearly, or the band, it's clearly, trying to present itself as something that's close to a Cohiba. And
Band is like a Bahique-esque.
Yeah.
right. Well,
Yeah.
it was designed by this dude
Yeah.
who designed the Bahique, did the graphics for Habanos SA, and then he went and did this. And I think it was somewhat controversial. I don't know all the details, but it was somewhat controversial in how this what's his name?
Nelson Alfonso,
how he
Yeah.
went about kind of, designing this band with the dots and the and it looks as close to a Cohiba band without actually, infringing, I guess, on the artwork to a point where they're gonna.
If I'm Habanos and I paid this guy to design Cohiba Bahique, I would not be happy about this cigar.
They
coming out.
can't be.
They can't
Obviously,
be happy about it.
but what's the but also my point of view is, but like what we call an advertising borrowed interest. It's like taking almost like if you were to do, let's say, like a movie reel for a company party, right? And you made it funny, but it was like the theme from Law and Order, like, right? But that's like not really creative, because it's not an original idea. It's what you call borrowed interest, where you're taking like something that already exists and doing a parody of that.
Yeah.
That's the whole framework underpinnings of the creative idea is borrowed. Do you know what I mean? So
But
you're
it's
doing a
borrowed
parody of it.
But it's borrowed from his own brain because he designed it.
No, but he didn't design the dots in the Cohiba band,
Sure.
and which is
Sure.
you know what I'm saying? Like
you're right on
like
that, yeah.
Cohiba as a brand he had nothing to do with creating.
Yeah.
This is, but you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
even if he did create you already created the design of the Behike band for Cohiba with the brand guidelines and the guidance and in the spirit of Cohiba, and then just to like do something that's like so close to it,
Yeah.
and then try to pass it off as something, to me, isn't that original?
Yeah.
Do something original. But again, it's marketing, and maybe he knows something that people don't, and maybe whatever. But that's what's been polarizing, I think, about the smoke. And then not revealing, obviously, I think, what the blend is all about. And
The only thing I know,
I don't know.
The only thing I know
it's just
about it-
like,
and we'll get into it in a second, but the only thing I know about it is where it's made and the wrapper. That's really about it. So,
okay.
what are you guys getting on the cold draw this thing? My draw is wide open. Let's start there. I'm getting a little fig.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Maybe a little raisiny fig thing.
Yeah.
That's about it, though. But the draw's nice.
Mm-hmm.
Construction's
The
nice.
construction's beautiful.
I think you nailed it on the fig.
Which is
definitely a
funny
fig
because
mutiny.
what's funny, I was actually on Friends of Habanos, the forum, and somebody specifically emailed Rob Isla, the proprietor of that site, looking for other cigars like the Vegas Urbana Unico and that line that kind of has that fig note that we even discussed on the Unico episode. And not a lot of folks came up with what I thought were accurate fig notes for cigars. And I'm curious if the cold draw is going to follow through on the actual smoke of this thing and provide us some fig. But we'll see, boys. Let's light this thing.
Is it just me, or is the band like lower on the stick?
A little
Yeah,
bit.
a
Yeah,
little
a
bit.
little
yeah.
bit.
A little bit. I don't mind that though.
The Atabey Brujos Robusto. Again, 52 ring gauge by a little under 5 inches, 4 7/8. So to Poobah's point, this cigar it's made in Costa Rica, which is pretty rare. This is our first cigar on the pod that's been constructed in Costa Rica. And the wrapper is in Ecuadorian Connecticut. So calling out the Connecticut, I think, Senator, I think you said that, is accurate. It's an Ecuadorian Connecticut wrapper on this thing. And we'll see if this is the Cuban Killer, as some folks have told us, or if it's a big sham. I will say the other thing that we need to talk about, too, with this cigar, as we get it lit here, I'm still working on it, is the price point is arguably absurd.
What is it?
What'd you pay for these?
This was like $32 a stick with after tax.
To me, that's pretty high for an Ecuadorian Connecticut Robusto.
But not compared to a Behike.
Well, yeah.
Wow, that's expensive.
Yeah, it's a pretty expensive cigar. You can find them online somewhere between 26 and 28.
Tasty on the light.
Yeah, the light is actually very nice. I'm seeing boxes of these, by the way, online, $6.75 a box for 25. So
Grinder at one point had a box.
Yeah, I got a box of 50.
wow.
He didn't have them for long. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
He sent them back.
Oh yeah, that's right. He did send them back. I remember that. Was it this cigar? Do you know what it was?
Different size. It was
It was
bigger,
like
no?
a 54,
Like a Toro?
yeah.
Yeah.
I actually wish Bam was here for this because I think Bam is part of the reason that Grinder sent
Well,
it back.
can I tell the story?
Please do. This is actually a
So-
good story.
So I was looking at these cigars. I'm like, God, I really want to try these cigars. I was talking about them at one of the lounges we were at, and I think I was like, I want to get a box, but it's kind of, I've never had the cigar. It's kind of ridiculous for me to kind of spend this money on the cigar without knowing it. And Bam and another person were like, okay, well, do you want to split the box? I'm like, yeah, sure. That's a great idea. Immediately ordered the box of cigars. It was almost $1,000. I'm like, okay, this is great. We could get to have these cigars. And I bring the cigars to the lounge. We have the cigars. I like the cigar. I didn't love the cigar at the time, but it was a very good cigar. And a couple of the other people, they didn't like it, and they were like, one of the guys was like, I don't want these. And I was like, okay, well, I just spent $1,000 on this. He's like, well, I'm sorry, like I don't want them. And I was like, okay. And Bam immediately jumped. He's like, yeah, sorry, I don't want it either.
They stuck him with the whole box.
So I have a box of thousands.
Hold.
It was a low ball move. It was like not a shining
Ronnie
moment.
the limo driver would say, hold the phone. What do you, so someone, but you can't do that.
Yeah, I know.
Somebody goes in on a box of cigars with you and you go, okay, let's go in on this box. And then you order it. And then you guys are like, all right, awesome. So excited to try. And you try them and he doesn't like them. And he says, fuck you. I'm not paying you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck that guy.
Both that guy and Bam.
Yeah. Wait.
Excuse me.
I know.
Excuse me.
This is why.
If he was sitting here, I'd say, guy, what's up?
You were
I
there.
never
I'm
said that.
sorry, but
I never said that. I never. It's
why
just
is this is coming up now? Live?
I wish Bam was here to defend himself.
I think it's funnier that he's not.
He's by the way, he's indefensible. So it's true. There's no defense to this. And
I mean, was there a clear commitment to the?
Yes,
There was so much so. I want to be clear.
Oh my god!
I wanna be clear.
This is
This sounds like a
fucking
disavow.
insane.
This is a disavow.
In Grinder's defense, it was so clear that I thought about it and I knew there was too much of a chance that I wasn't going to like this cigar. I said I was out from the get-go. And if it was wonderful, I would have missed out, right? That's on me. You don't say you're going to go in on a box split,
And then
have
bail.
someone purchase them, and you are owing them this money, and then you try one and you say, no, I don't like it. I'm not going to pay you for the rest of the box. I mean, you just don't do that.
Yeah.
Well, you're in it together. If I ordered a box of Hoyo double Coronas with Gizmo, whether he paid for them or I paid for them, and half of them fucking smoked dead and they were fucked up or something weird,
on both of
we'd
us.
go, well, we're
Yeah.
fucked. What are we gonna do?
And it's by the way, it's happened.
Right? Like
It's
we're
happened.
fucked.
Yeah.
Okay. This isn't like we got a bad box of cigars. Like, what do we want to do? Do we want to lay them down? Do we want to just throw them away? Do we want to wait with them? Do we want to sell them?
Yeah.
If there's some in there that seemed like they were worth selling, whatever. You're fucked.
Yep.
You don't like the cigar. You don't like the cigar. What is this like?
It's a free for all.
Is Grindr a fucking retail establishment? Like, there's no like I'm going to return this?
Amazon returns.
All I can say is if that cigar was anything close to this so far,
It's awesome.
Yeah.
I would buy them.
I like it.
This is now. Listen, we're a quarter of an inch in, not even. This is really good so far.
So I'll say this: I'm going to be as critical in every aspect of this cigar, just because I don't like the amount of hype and the Cuban Killer. All that doesn't need to be part of this, right? If the cigar is that good, people will say that for themselves. I don't like that the band clearly is like a knockoff of a Cohiba. There's a lot of problems I have with this cigar. I will say the construction Poobah started with this. It is flawless.
Yep.
It's
Look at the burn.
actually one of the most beautiful looking cigars I've probably ever seen. So A+ there. On the flavor, what I'm thinking happened, because I had one of these. I remember Grinder had given me one. I think that box was stored at that lounge's locker, which was always too high.
Yeah, too wet.
I am convinced that cigar was too wet, and because when I smoked it, it was so minimal in flavor. I was sitting there wondering, like, why would there be hype around this stick? This is clearly stored better. It's really pleasant to start. Not a ton of flavor, so I'm curious if this is going to build, because for me, if this continues this way, this won't have enough that interests me. But the flavor, I think, like some of it's sweet dessert like flavors, like honey and this creaminess that the cigar has. So yeah, it's actually off to a very good start.
Great smoke output. Very easy to smoke.
I will say something. It's not a Cuban Killer, but as far as New World cigars go, it is a distant cousin, I would say, flavor profile wise right now. It's kind of got that thing a little bit.
It's Cuban-esque.
It is. It's a
Cuban-
little Cuban-esque.
I wouldn't say it's a Cuban. I would say it's Cuban-esque. I think that's a apt.
Take it easy, everybody.
I mean, honestly, for me, like,
I mean,
let's just be real. I mean, as I'm smoking this, I'm sitting here saying, like, this may be the best Connecticut wrapper like I've ever had. Like, it smokes like a mild New World cigar. it doesn't to me smoke like a Cuban. Like even some of the milder Cubans, you have just a little bit of that minerality or that twang that we talk about. I don't get any of that when on the light here. I just get like a creaminess, a really pleasant smoking experience. But if I'm being honest, there's nothing that screams Cuban to me.
I think you're getting
There's
more bang for your buck by getting a Monte Cristo white label Churchill than anything like this, because that has a lot of flavor, in my opinion, but you're not paying that premium price.
But the aroma that out of the smoke, if you just smell the,
Yeah.
the head of the cigar, it's very pleasant.
Yeah.
I mean,
but there's something for me. There's a lot. There's complexity to it. There's no doubt, but there's something going on for me. There's a note that I'm getting in here that I can't quite pinpoint, but I don't want to say it's like sharp cheddar cheese, because that's not what it is. It's like there's like a sharpness to it that isn't as pleasant to me as I'd like it to be. I don't know what it is. Like,
I'm not getting anything sharp.
Me neither.
Yeah,
For me, it's
I'm-
very dessert. I'm just getting
Very
like
desserty.
honey and shortbread.
Yeah, it's
like-
very very pleasant.
yeah.
At least not yet. I mean, maybe it'll change.
There's a there's some sort of a high note in there that is bordering on a little, not bitter, but slightly. It's interfering, and I just don't know what this thing is. I'll
You know
check
what?
back in.
I'm not getting anything unique though. Like I'm getting little bits and bobs of some Cuban, a little bit of Cuban, some like Dominican Connecticut shade, and some nothing. And it's very pleasant. The aroma I think is very pleasant. Like when you have it in
Yeah.
front of
It
you.
smells great at the
Right.
burn line.
But
Yeah.
but is it worth the price?
That's the question.
Well, we
Yeah,
don't
I mean,
know
we'll
yet.
see. We
That's
don't know
the-
yet.
yeah, we'll
see how
see.
it goes.
But I will say,
I'm just saying the
uh,
only thing for me that's clear up front, I will argue this till I'm blue in the face. This is not Cuban-esque for me. I'm sorry. Like
Okay.
it's just truly not. I don't get any twang, any minerality, it doesn't remind me. I couldn't name a Cuban cigar that's like this. If I had to name one, there is one, but that is an outlier, and Rooster would know this.
I
'cause
hope
we've
you're
had
going
this.
to
I
say the
think-
same.
I think, let me say it might be the same
Go
one.
ahead.
But this is an outlier among Cuban cigars. There's no other Cuban that smokes like it. And it's that Monte Cristo 80th anniversary stick. That's that smaller ring gauge that we've said is the creamiest cigar we've ever had in our lives. It's a lighter shade wrapper. It's not, no Cuban is probably as light as that cigar. This reminds me a little bit of that, but that's an outlier among Cubans. That's not the normal Cuban profile. So if there's one thing I'm convinced of from the start of
But
this
that's
cigar,
good
it's not.
company you're putting it in.
I am, but I'm just saying, like, the flavor of that Monty is not even very Cuban-like. It's so unique. So I'm just saying, like, for me to say this is Cuban-esque, which would be reminiscent of, a number of Cubans, I don't see the comparison.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like the dessert-like flavors that you get out of the short the punch, little bit that I'm getting from this.
That's
I
more
mean,
peanut
not
butter.
Yeah, I'm
peanut
getting
butter,
that's
peanut
a
buttery.
peanut butter
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, but
This is much lighter to me.
I don't know what it is about this, but I do have to disagree with you, Senator. It is kind of giving me hints of that. Like it's kind of it kind of hitting my palate like I don't know what it is yet. I'll get there. But it is reminding me of
It reminds me
So,
too.
like,
Of a
what
Cuban.
stick in particular?
I knew you were going to ask that, and I'm not quite sure yet. I'm working
Like,
on
it
that.
does remind me of a Partagas. Would you agree there?
Kind of reminds me of a Bolivar.
No,
no,
I disagree strongly with that
You
statement.
don't get the dessert-like flavors from
Sorry,
the Bolivar.
doesn't remind me of a Bolivar at all. Did this cigar remind you of a Bolivar?
In a sense, not totally. I'm talking about a little bit of reminding of, not saying it is a Bolivar.
But I'm just
saying
pushing
getting
this
hints
point
of it.
because the fact that
Yeah,
no one
it's-
is able to sit here and say,
Yeah,
like,
I don't-
this reminds me of this cigar. Like, if I'm even willing to agree that there's something Cuban-esque about it, it's very faint. It's not really pronounced. So that's all. That's my
To
only
me,
point.
this is closer to maybe like, honestly, like if you told me that this was something out of the Davidoff line and you took the band off of it and it was some sort of random Davidoff, whatever, in a Connecticut shade wrapper, I'd be like, okay, it's a Davidoff. And you know what? I'd be smoking it. And I'd be like, am I buying this at this price point? No.
Yeah.
So
well,
like
I don't
for me-
disagree with you with buying it at the price point. I wouldn't buy this at 25.
But I even like his comparison because Davidoff, like most of their sticks, not the ones that we pursue, like the Late Hour or the Millennium. Most of them are lighter, milder and creamy like this. Like this would fit a
This
lot
would
of
fit.
Davidoff.
Like if you
It's
told
more
me,
like the Signature series or the
Signature,
Grand Cru series.
right?
Yes.
Like if you told me this was a Davidoff signature or something, because I don't smoke that much, and it had no band, and you switched the bands out, I would think it's a Davidoff.
Yeah, but
signature.
the Signature series are
something.
milder. They're
Couple
milder
things.
than
Even
this.
milder than
Even
this?
milder,
Davidoff,
and not like dessert flavors
Yeah.
that you get.
Yeah.
That you're getting from this.
I think Davidoff has a very distinct Davidoff taste, which I'm not getting here.
That's true.
What's
But
one-
if like
second-
you lied to me and told me that this was something that I hadn't had,
I never lied to you.
I know. But if you did, this is totally hypothetical.
I know.
Grinder.
I know.
I love you, man. All day, non-gay. But that's what I'm saying. It's closer to that for me, like some sort of one of those.
True. Okay. The second point that I had is that the flavor for me is amplifying right now as I'm smoking this more. I'm getting a little more creaminess.
It's a lot of creaminess.
Yeah.
It's very much coating the roof of my mouth in a very
Yeah.
nice way. And I got to say, I mean, look at the burn on it. It's just
That's where
brilliant
I'm saying
construction.
A+. The construction
Brilliant
is
construction.
truly
It's Davidoff
outstanding.
quality construction.
It is. It is. Yeah, very, very pleasant so far. I do have a problem with the $32 price point. We can revisit that as we rate it, but that's expensive for.
But
for
you know
a
what?
Robusto.
There's plenty of Cuban cigars that we pay sometimes like that or
Yeah,
more.
but we're not paying that for a regular production Robusto. I mean, for a D4, for a RAS, I mean, come on.
I mean, there's some regionals and ELs that have sucked that we have paid.
Yeah,
You know,
we
a
paid
lot
stupid
more.
But those
money.
aren't regular product. That's his
Yeah,
point. Like
yeah.
this is their
It's-
standard line.
This is a standard thing. Yeah.
This isn't a limited edition. This isn't some regional.
Yeah,
kinda-
but New Worlds really don't do any regionals or.
No, but they have higher end
ELs.
stuff like in the Padron line, like the 80th, right? That commands a
Yeah.
30-something
They have
dollar
limited
price
release.
point.
Look at how many
50.
Davidoff
Some-
limiteds there are.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
Yeah, that's the same
I guess.
thing.
every
as
year
with
they release 10 of them.
regional ones and
I guess
limitadas
Da-
are
I
the
guess
same thing
Davidoff
as
has
just limited
regionals.
releases.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's pretty good. It's
Yeah, I'll just
pretty
say, I mean,
good.
for where the flavor is right now, with a coffee in the morning, this would be outstanding. There's no doubt about
I'll
that.
say without question, this is the best Connecticut shade cigar I've ever had.
I agree with
Without question. Even I would put this above the Padron Damaso.
that. I've never had that, but
Everybody
I
take it
don't
easy with
disagree
the
at all
best of
there.
all the- I don't think this is the best of anything. That
No,
I've ever had.
as far as Connecticut shades that
Connecticut
I've
shade,
smoked.
But I think this is important. Like why I was bringing up, I would have this in the morning with coffee, and why I this is where I have an issue with this cigar. With coffee in the morning, this would be phenomenal. It's so creamy, it's so smooth, dessert flavors. It checks every morning smoke box.
Or
But when I'm picking up a $30-something stick, I'm looking for a cigar that I'm going to have in the late afternoon, in the evening, that's going to hold up, and I'm going to enjoy that night. Is this what I would want to reach for at 7 o'clock at night, at 10 o'clock? No way so far based on
Yeah.
the flavor. There's not enough flavor here for me.
Yeah, this would not work after a nice steak dinner. No way.
I'm sorry, even a regular dinner.
Yeah, no way.
I wouldn't pick this cigar.
The
Caesar salad.
Caesar salad with salmon on it.
I wouldn't pick this
That's
cigar.
my new
What
jam,
about
by the
some
way.
tuna tartare? You might pair well with tuna
At the
tartare.
Harvard Club. Pedestrian at
I
best.
kind of want to try this whiskey. I haven't tasted
Yeah, I was just going to say, let's try the Yamato Japanese Whisky, which I believe now is the 4th Japanese whiskey that we've done on the pod.
We're on it. We're on a Japanese string here.
We're on a little bit of a Japanese kick.
Really? I didn't know. Good to
Poobah,
know.
tell us how you feel.
It's good. Very good.
I would say a first sip opened up a little bit. I don't love it. I mean,
I'm in the same boat.
yeah, it's not great.
It's
How much was this bottle, Grinder?
130.
130.
130.
Oh my god. Oh, the pain. Wow.
Rubies?
Rupees.
Yeah, it's like 130 US.
It's kind of
That'd be
like
$2.
it doesn't have much.
It's
Doesn't
very thin.
yeah.
Like the finish is pretty abrupt.
Yeah. So apparently, I read up a little bit about this when Grinder said that he got it.
What's it called again?
Yamato Japanese Whiskey. Yamato.
Are we gonna get like killed by like a samurai
It's possible.
if we give this a bad review?
So
they,
this is
they drink it at the Shogun.
Probably
Yeah.
good with sushi.
it's a small batch. Apparently, it was originally founded when it was founded by an importing group who found an excess of barrels of whiskey and decided to make a Japanese whiskey out of it. It's apparently very popular, and some things that Grinder can touch on if he so chooses. But it's distilled from a blend of malted barley and other grains. It's grown in Yamanashi in Japan, which is a landlocked area of Japan, I guess. And it's right near. The reason why I found this interesting, it's right near Mount Fuji. It's like backed up right
In
to Mount
Suffern?
Fuji. Yeah.
For the
funny.
listener, that's a hibachi place near us.
That's on top of a mountain.
The one thing I'll say is that it's a blend of 3-year to 8-year old whiskeys, and I don't really taste anything that they're talking
Doesn't
about.
really
here.
knock my socks off. It's
Yeah, I
kinda-
think there's mostly 3-year in this.
I mean,
not much
$130 for a 3-year.
I
whiskey.
feel like I'm in a fucking knockoff reunion with this cigar and the fucking knockoff fucking
Knockoff
scotch.
reunion.
This is like fucking ridiculous. I'm drinking overpriced Japanese whiskey and an overpriced fucking knockoff Bahike. Yeah, this is like a masquerade party.
That's hilarious.
Eyes wide shut. I am enjoying the cigar, the whiskey not so much.
I agree.
The hibiki is so much
Grinder,
better,
did
so
you
much
bring
cheaper
these?
as well.
Was this your thing? Am
Yeah.
I insulted? See, this is where
You're not insulting me. I don't give a shit.
because I love you so
didn't
much.
make
It was a
And I
collective
love you- and
decision.
I-
Yeah.
Because I
asked-
wasn't on the text. And
Well, you don't
see
resp-
it and
yeah.
see
Yeah,
it.
you don't
I
look
was-
at the
I've been
text. You're
busy
on
at
the.
work.
Let's clarify. You're on the text.
No, but
let's clarify. He's on the text.
I'm on the text, but I've been very busy at work the last number of days, and I can't catch up. I've been out at
Well,
night. and
I did hear
I-
the silence when I said I was bringing beer for one of the cigars on the phone, and I was like, "Oh, crickets."
when
guess
I
it
was talking to you, there were.
No, I said I was good with beer. I just said I'm out.
I'm
of
talking
sight.
to-
You
Oh,
mean
Poobah.
did we talk earlier today? Yes, we
Yes,
did.
we-
I can't remember shit. We did talk earlier today. Oh, and when you said you were bringing beer, I was silent.
Yeah, it was just like crickets. I was like, okay, I guess I'll see you there.
Oh. I'm sorry.
Well, that sounds like a new world.
You guys have to understand how much I have a special place in my heart for Grinder.
Is it because of the Caesar salads? What is it?
What do you mean? What is what?
The special love. I'm curious
I
about it.
got
There's
special
nothing
love for
Yeah,
you. There's nothing special.
Caesar salads,
Side chats.
leaves,
Leaves.
Gummies.
Let's put it this way: we exchanged Joe Biden memes, so that's really at the heart of it.
Oh,
You know, Joe Biden falling off his bicycle and stuff. We like to laugh at that kind of stuff. This is not a political show.
who doesn't?
We do not get into political stuff here, but you know,
don't
we
worry.
like
We're
to
in the
la-
no spin zone. Don't
we're-
worry.
Fuck it.
No, but truth be told, I did seek consultation on the selection tonight. It just so happened that this was a little bit of a failure.
No, it's not a failure. It's just look. This show is meant for some entertainment. I'm just breaking balls here. The cigar is good. I don't know what else to say.
I thought he was talking about the whiskey.
Oh, the whiskey.
Oh, the whiskey.
Is it
He's
better?
hedging now.
Okay, the whiskey was. I had
The
no idea what I was
whiskey
doing. I
Even
literally said I was this close to getting Canadian Club, just as a joke. It probably would have been better. Yeah. That's my
No, I mean
story.
with the Japanese whiskeys, we're experimenting, right? I think we got really lucky that Nikka coffee grain was really good. That
Yep.
was a surprise. There was a lot of hype, so I really wanted to try that. I'm glad that worked out.
That was a 9.2.
Obviously, the hibiki, Pagoda loves hibiki, and we all got to try it. I think everybody loved it. That was a home run.
It
I
really
had picked up
was.
some Akashi
White
White
Oak,
Oak that
yeah.
is on all these lists of like 5 Japanese whiskeys you must try, and it was garbage. It was
6.8.
horrible.
We
Oh,
rated
Now,
that.
luckily, that
6.8.
wasn't 130 a bottle; is half that. But still, I mean, we're gonna hit some. We're gonna
But the
miss.
Nika coffee was good.
I wanna-
Which whiskey was that you were talking about before?
Akashi White Oak.
There was also the Nika coffee. Remember?
And the
Nika coffee
Suntory.
was
I
outstanding.
wasn't there for that one.
Oh, I
it
brought.
was good.
I think, yeah, the Nika
The
coffee
White
was a good
Oak
one.
though, was that the white bottle with the black letters?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was good.
No, it's terrible.
No,
Yeah, we didn't like it.
Horrible.
Under 7.
I can't remember what.
I
What
would
You're,
cigar
you're
was
thinking of
paired
the,
with
maybe
that?
the Suntory?
Yeah,
That's
the
what I'm
Suntory.
thinking of,
the
Yeah,
Suntory.
Suntory
That was
Toki.
good.
That was good.
The
But that's
Suntory.
$30
Yeah.
bucks.
And it's like $35.
That's
a bottle. It's
$100
amazing.
less than what we have
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah, I
And
can't
that's
keep
better.
track of the names. I'm sorry. It's like it's in one ear out the other with the Japanese names. I just can't. It's like it's just like it's a
Arigato.
foreign fucking language. I don't I don't know.
delete.
No, it's like everything's.
No, I get it. I get it.
It's Suntory, the Yakitori, whatever. I can't keep track of the
Kawasaki.
Poobah, how many languages do you speak?
many.
His Spanish is impeccable.
At least 7.
This has got quite a different kind of kick if you don't have ice on it.
Sounds good.
Yeah, but
So you're
I
saying
didn't-
it's way better without ice?
No, not at all.
It's better.
No, that's the thing. So honestly, I always do this. I mean, when we pour it over ice, I just immediately take a sip before the ice is melted to get
Yeah.
a sense of what it's like neat. This stuff is very rough around the edges, neat. It tastes, it's harsh. It's not
It's
not
not
a
great.
refined
It's not
spirit.
great.
I was just doing a little bit of a dig as we were coming on air here about this, and somebody gave it a 1-star review on one of the websites and said it was very simply, this is furniture polish.
Right.
Yeah,
That was their
they're
comment.
not wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
God,
So
why wish
speaking
you
of-
would've told me
speaking
that
of-
Well, the
before
Senate-
No, I
Senator-
just saw it now. I didn't see it, obviously earlier today.
I was thinking of you guys. Over the weekend.
Thanks, Poobah.
Speaking of
That's very nice.
polarizing,
It's kind of you.
Polarizing.
no, polarizing spirits. Like seems like it's a little bit maybe polarizing. The cigar seems like maybe it's a little polarizing. Like the price point doesn't align with this whiskey. Maybe that
Correct.
whatever. You see 1-star reviews, etc.
Yeah.
But a spirit that I know that maybe the majority of folks in here don't enjoy on the regular, is gin.
Yeah, we haven't touched
and
gin
let's
yet.
just I want to talk about it just briefly because I thought about you guys this weekend. I enjoy a traditional gin martini with a half ounce of vermouth in it. The way that a martini should be made with high quality vermouth and a couple of olives. And it's been pretty warm here lately. And to me, an ice cold martini, either a vodka martini or a gin martini, for me, like hits the spot at times. And I know everyone in here, Senator, I know you don't love vodka or gin. It's not
No,
something you
but
love.
I used to be a big vodka drinker, and I would have a vodka martini.
Right.
Not gin, I wouldn't do, but vodka. For
Right. Well, so I'm getting to something where I was thinking of you actually specifically. So gin generally is a high proof spirit, right? Can we agree on that? That most gin is 90 to 100 proof, right? But there's a gin called Plymouth Gin, and it's made in England, and it's an 80 proof gin. And I'm bringing this up because it's good. It's really, really, really quite good. It's not Bombay Sapphire at this high proof. And I've gone through stages where I've drank Plymouth gin and drank it and then put it down. It's not like I'm drinking gin all the time. But when I'm in the mood for it, I'm in the mood for it. I buy Plymouth because it's a lower proof gin. And when you make a martini out of it, you kind of get that current and that kind of body in the martini that a gin delivers without that, oh my God, I just had a gin martini and I'm hammered kind of thing, or you know what I mean? Or it's too much or too overwhelming. And I thought maybe I would bring some onto the pod and just shake up some of these gin martinis with this lower proof gin, which and just see what people think of it, because it's so pleasant. And I was just drinking it, and it's just like it's so refreshing and so nice. And when you put a decent amount of vermouth in it, it cuts it again. And then it cuts it just a little bit when you stir it with some ice, it cuts it again. So it's not this thing that's not approachable that I think people think gin martinis. It's like, oh my God, I'm gonna get furniture polish in my mouth. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it's Tanqueray and it's like this horrible thing. There's a smooth and a round aspect to this that if you were to have a gin martini, this could be an introduction to that. So I thought about maybe, doing that to see, what folks think, because it's a classic cocktail. It's a really, really classic cocktail for a reason. And it tastes good, So anyway, I don't know if you guys are
I'm
open to
in
that.
because I don't have a lot of great experiences with gin, but you have to give credit to, all the different things that we've been able to try on the pod. If it's tequila, if it's cognac, if it's different beers that we've tried, it's been very eye-opening. So I'm totally game to try anything, especially a lower proof gin for sure. All right, boys, we're halfway through here. The Atabey Robusto. What do you guys think of this thing?
I think it should be out of the bay.
I think it's pretty good.
No, it's all right. Listen, I think the price point has just really disturbed me quite a bit already.
Yeah,
I
32
should
bucks is too
hold
much.
my reservations till the end.
Yeah.
So
I'm taking price point
It's
even out of this
pleasant.
for me. I really, honestly, if this cigar is that great, I'll spend the $30 on it. I'm not concerned about that. The thing is, the flavor, this has been enjoyable. There's nothing offensive. I haven't had any problem with this. The most impressive thing still remains the construction.
The construction is
I mean,
fantastic.
my ash for the whole first half stayed on. I chose to ash it so it's not all over me. It's flawless. Truly one of the best constructed cigars I've ever seen. The problem for me, though, is just the flavor. It's still too mild. I do want more out of this cigar. It's creamy. It's nice. There's so much to like about it, but this is still a morning stick for me. I'm waiting for how I would ever like this in the afternoon or in the evening and be that satisfied.
Yeah,
I'm getting more flavor from the
It's a
whiskey.
morning cigar with coffee.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that's
The coffee will add to the flavor for
For a
sure.
$30 coffee.
Yeah. Poobah, what do you think of the
they're
cigar
out
so
there.
far?
It's the construction is great. The combustion has been very nice. The burn has been very nice. Is the flavor profile really like for me? Not, it's pleasant. I kind of I'll just concur with Senator in terms of the analysis. It's this kind of the same thing for me. Is it slightly compelling? Sure. But is it better than any Davidoff or that? Probably not. And it's not a standout to me. It didn't stand out flavor wise, like where I was like, wow, like, woo, like, or you get that relaxing, whoa. You guys are really hurting me. They're breaking me up tonight. No, but it doesn't give you that. Like, I was confused by it more than I was really.
I would
like enjoyed it.
I would echo your sentiment there. There's a good barometer for a good cigar for me is if I'm smoking a cigar and I like it enough that there's something in it that keeps me coming back and I'm focused on that. And I'm like, wow, this is really good. I get just as much enjoyment out of this cigar as I get from a decent cigar that I smoke when I'm mowing my lawn. It's just something to puff on and slightly enjoy while I'm doing other shit. Like there's nothing that I'm focused on where I'm doing the bam bam pounce with the hand and the revelation of how great the cigar is. There's nothing like that.
No, there's no exclamation point on it. There's nothing that's
That's a great way to put it.
There's no exclamation point. It's not like this is, and it's like,
yeah.
It's not bad. It's not unpleasant, but it wasn't exciting to me.
I do think, though, and this is maybe a stupid statement, but I think if Grindr came in and said that this cigar was $12, I think I'd be like, wow, okay, maybe I should get a few of these for the humidor. Not that I'm going to smoke them at night, but at 32, I think it's different than at $12.
I just go back to those. So this is where, for me, even at $12, I'm not sure this has a place for me. In that, I still don't think there's enough flavor at $12 for me to pick up this.
There's
stick.
not.
I go back to one of the most shocking cigars we reviewed was that Arturo Fuente,
Hemingway.
The Hemingway signature.
Hemingway signature. I
Yeah.
never had that
It's a
cigar.
great cigar.
And that cigar, it's a mild medium cigar. It's not a full cigar at all, which is not normally my speed. I would like medium, full. I was just shocked, like the nuttiness in that cigar. It had enough flavor that I could light that in the morning, even in the afternoon, and I would be satisfied. I could mow my lawn, have that cigar, and be very happy. This cigar has less flavor than that. I'm calling out that nutty flavor that I got from that random, probably $10 Arturo Fuente cigar. This cigar, I don't know what I'd even say stands out flavor-wise.
It's muddled.
It's just creamy and sweet, but there's nothing really distinct. You know, we could name every single cigar brand and we would say, you know, a Partagas, it's got like that spice and cinnamon and all these things. We could talk about an Upman and the dessert-like flavor. I don't know what to say about an Atabey other than it's creamy, it's smooth. There's not much more there.
And flawless construction and
That, yeah.
and, you know, and it's a very handsome smoke.
But I just mean for flavor.
Yeah, for flavor,
That's
right.
like the distinctive characteristic to me about each brand.
Yeah.
It's got a unique flavor profile. I can't say there's really
Yeah.
a unique flavor other than it's creamy and it's a smooth, pleasant enough cigar. That's about it.
I
It
think
does-
its utility could lie in, you know, when you meet somebody new who wants to try out cigars, who wants to try out a very nice cigar. I think this could be a really good starter cigar.
You could trust that this is going to perform well. Certainly.
Guess I think this cigar is perfect for your father-in-law.
I agree.
He would.
I
love
think he would
this.
love it.
He would enjoy this.
Yeah. I mean, listen, he's
Of the lighter cigars that he smokes, you put this at 30 something bucks a stick.
he's not going to touch it.
Every other one of those is a third of that price,
Yep.
at most half. And they're just honestly as good. Like
Yeah.
the flavor that he'd get out of those is similar.
Yeah.
You know, I think the Hemingway comparison's very interesting because that cigar at that price point delivers just so much more
It was great.
than this. You know, I gotta be honest, if totally honest. If me and Rooster walked into a cigar lounge and he said, "I'm gonna buy you a cigar. I'm gonna buy this Atabey. You want one, or do you want a Hemingway?" I'd say, "Give me the Hemingway."
Yeah.
Same.
I agree. That was a great cigar.
You know, like, give me the Hemingway. I mean, you know, it's nothing stands out for me with this outside of the really immaculate construction,
It's got a nice band though.
and it's got a real
Nice
it's a
Bahique band.
nice Bahique knockoff band. So
So let me ask you another question because I have a pretty strong opinion on this. And totally not off of cigars, but kind of I'm in the same mentality, and I'm curious where you guys are at. We've talked a little bit on the group chat and outside of the podcast on the Derek Jeter ESPN 30 for 30 series, The Captain. What do you guys think of it? Who's seen it?
incredible.
You love it?
Yeah, I mean, I've watched, I think up through episode 5 or maybe even 6.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the more honest takes. It's up there with the Michael Jordan 30 for 30.
That's where I was going.
It's right
Last
there.
Dance.
It's The Last Dance. It's right there because you know, he really doesn't he does something what he's done his whole career, which is he doesn't pull any punches, and he's very, very honest about what his point of view is on a lot of different things, teammates, his own development as a player, but he presents those opinions in a very, very, very Derek Jeter way, which is measured and calibrated perfectly. Like almost like in another life, if he wasn't a baseball player, he could have worked at a PR firm. That's how calibrated and how his overall worldview, how his parents influenced that, It's all exemplified in this, and how that his upbringing in combination with his natural ability and talent, and what he had to do to cultivate that and then preserve it on an ongoing basis is compelling.
I think that's right. I mean, the funny thing is when that came out, I was looking at just early reviews from some of the sports writers. I was curious, I was going to watch it either way as a Yankees fan, but I was just curious if it was going to be anything like The Last Dance, which I think is one of the greatest, like
I think it is the greatest.
Okay. I was trying to temper it.
Yeah, it is. I think
it's flawless,
Yeah.
literally flawless. And Jordan is just so honest
Yeah.
about everything in that. And some of the early reviews I read were about how, oh, you're not going to learn anything new about Derek Jeter. He's so polished in it. He's not that honest. And having watched most of it, I think he's actually very honest.
He is.
And I think Poobah's point, like, he does it in his way. Like, Michael Jordan is brutally honest in that. And that's just the kind of guy like Jordan was. I mean, right, this is a person who he's practicing with his teammates. And if a guy is not pulling his weight, he's in their face telling them
up on
that they're playing like
Yeah.
garbage and they need to raise their level of play if they're going to compete on this team and win a championship. Derek Jeter is not that guy. Derek Jeter is not the guy that goes up to every player and is getting in their face about every single thing. He's the guy that's, quiet, but very firm and confident and wants to make sure people are doing what they're doing. So he did it in his way that was authentic, but I thought very honest. I mean, I loved how he's entirely transparent. He doesn't like Brian Cashman.
Yep.
They don't speak. He will never forgive him for what he put him through with his final
arbitration.
contract.
Yeah.
Well, first the arbitration earlier in his career that wasn't paid enough, and the Yankees wouldn't give him what he felt he was owed, and he was right. And they took him to arbitration, and he won. Had to fight for what he was worth. And then you look at later in his career, this guy's delivered several rings for that franchise, made them hundreds of millions of dollars, and he's sitting there saying, we're going to haggle over, a few $1 million on my contract. Get the fuck out of here. I don't blame him at all. So I love that he was honest about stuff like that. And for me, just some of the stories were just hilarious outside of Jeter, very much like The Last Dance. Some of the stories about Dennis Rodman in the middle of the NBA
Vegas.
Finals, going off to Vegas, and he's shacked up with Carmen Electra in a suite in Vegas, and Jordan has to fly out. That was a great story. It had nothing to do with Jordan. That was about Rodman. Similarly, I just love some of the stories about Steinbrenner. Like, I couldn't believe they're talking about the 2000 Subway Series, the Mets and Yankees in the World Series, and him talking about how of any World Series, that was the one that Steinbrenner could not entertain the thought of losing. Made crystal clear to every single player, we must win this series. We don't, like, you're out of here. That's just how he was. And I'm cracking up as I'm listening to him say they played the first 2 games at Yankee Stadium in that series. Next or 2 are at Shea Stadium at
This
the time.
is funny.
And he goes,
This is funny.
for the boss, the furniture in the visiting clubhouse in Shea Stadium was not to his standard. And so Steinbrenner had the Yankees staff remove all the furniture out of the Shea Stadium visiting clubhouse and had them bring in the Yankees furniture from Yankee Stadium just for the World Series. I'm sitting here saying, what owner has ever done something so ridiculous?
He wanted it comfortable for the players.
For the players.
I love
But
he's
you gotta love
furnishing.
that.
He's furnishing the enemy stadium,
Enemy stadium.
for his
It's-
players.
It's unbelievable. So just little anecdotes
Yeah.
like that, I loved it.
I will.
I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I will say, not to compare, but I did find the Jordan documentary, the Last Dance, I felt like it was a little more raw, a little less calculated. I felt like they highlighted his flaws. I think him sitting there the way that he was, he's not as polished as Jeter is, certainly. I found that, I hesitate to use the word relatable, but I found him more of a human being. I feel like Jeter's more of a little bit more robotic in his presentation.
But the thing that was really useful about it is it helped you understand why he felt he had to be that way. And I think a really important distinction is, right, Jordan played in the Chicago media market, right? He was a global figure, but his home media market, right, where like all the beat reporters every single day are there, they're Chicago based. Derek Jeter's playing in New York. And the microscope in New York is more intense than anywhere in the world that you could possibly play a sport. And I think as he's going through it and talking about all these distractions and things that would happen and these huge stories that would blow out of proportion something very simple or small that had happened, it helped you understand why he had to be that polished and why he didn't want there to be any distraction. And there's a reason. You'll never hear someone say,
Well, that's the
"Oh,
thing.
well, can
Yeah.
they play in Chicago? Can they handle it?" No one ever says that about any media market. The question's always when someone goes to play in New York, whether it's baseball, basketball, doesn't matter what the sport is, can they handle New York? And for me, I thought it was really useful to just get people to see why he had to be as polished as he was and try to minimize distractions. And I did appreciate even his honesty. I mean, he's sitting there talking about how when A-Rod, the whole steroid thing happened, and A-Rod has to hold the press conference, and the whole team was there. It was this sign of unity. And Jeter's just said, he's like, I didn't want to be there.
Well, that's
No one wanted to be
Yeah.
there.
No one wanted to be there. And
He's like, because it's a distraction. It's the last thing we need. He's like, every single story for the next month was about A-Rod.
yeah,
and
him and
steroids.
Posada are the original four. They were pissed. They're like, this is ridiculous. Like
Yeah.
this is a total disgrace, a total distraction, which it was. He was very honest about how he felt betrayed by A-Rod. With the negative things that he said to the Vanity Fair reporter, I forget his name, but around, oh well, Derek really never had to really lead because he had such a great team around him. Where I had to. It's like, please, man, please. And Jeter just comes out and goes, yeah, he flat out says to the camera, looking straight in it, but did he win?
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
and he admits, he's like, A-Rod by stats is a better player than I ever was. He
Yes.
fully admits that.
Yes.
Yeah.
But he says, my metric is winning.
His metric is winning, but also he's been judged his whole career on these intangibles, and Michael Jordan had both of that. He had the intangibles, plus he had just superior athletic ability. I mean, as an athlete, there's really no comparison between, I think, a Michael Jordan and a Derek
Of
Jeter
course.
as an athlete. I mean, just pure athlete. Michael Jordan's up there athletically with the best
The greatest
of all,
ever, yeah.
maybe the greatest ever up
Yeah,
there with
yeah.
even like a Bo Jackson type of
Sure.
athletic ability, right? So almost. Bo Jackson may be the best pure athlete, different discussion, but I mean for different reasons. But anyway, he was honest, and he was, and I don't think that he was being. I think a lot of that is the way he actually. A lot of this, what comes across as calculated or measured.
Well, I think
I think that is part of his authentic self. I don't think that he's totally part of it, and he admits it, is like, I did this and I answered these questions and I handled the media in a certain way,
But-
because I had to do that for all the reasons that Senator stated.
But there's a reason why he was in, a single guy in New York for 20 years. And there was never an article about craziness. Like,
Well, I mean, there wasn't.
Th-
But
I
what
mean-
I appreciate that he admitted, he said, I was lucky that I
Yeah.
didn't play in the age
Yeah,
of
it's a
social
different,
media.
different world.
He
Sure.
admitted
the
his
social media
exact
would be
words.
different. Yeah.
He said, my career would have been about 3 years long if I played today.
He did say that.
With
Yeah,
the environment that they're
yeah.
in, because let's just be clear, this is not a guy who's a saint or anything.
No.
He was out. I mean, he says this, and he's like, I could tell you every single night of the week, the hottest nightclub in New York. I was at all of them. He's like,
He did.
Monday we went to the China Club, Tuesday we went to here. I mean, he partied. There's
Yeah.
he makes
no
no,
doubt about it.
apologies about that. But it wasn't front page where some idiot is videoing him, dancing with some girl, and it's a big story. That just didn't exist then. So
Yeah.
he was lucky in that regard.
Sure.
He did, and he methodically talks about how he did put a wall around him. He would go out, but he only let certain people in his circle. So he was kind of smart about it, and he mitigated risk.
So listen, I would say, no question that it's a recommend from the Lizards for sure.
It's a great show.
Watch the Captain.
And more importantly, he himself is a lizard.
He is.
He used to apparently order cigars from merchants in New York because there was a time he was living somewhere in, the Upper East Side or slightly lower. but on the east side, and he would order cigars from merchants, and these guys would run cigars to him, and they
Wow.
would.
Why isn't this told in the
There you go.
documentary? Like
That's a great
this is
question.
when you said, The Last Dance was raw. I mean, we all know
I think
Michael Jordan.
smoked cigars during the interview.
Yes.
Well, that's
And he
so
was drinking too.
He was drinking tequila. He's
Yeah.
got his own tequila brand.
Right.
He's drinking his tequila. He's having his cigar. And everyone knows that Michael Jordan's a cigar smoker. But I loved how honest it was, where I never knew this. I couldn't believe watching The Last Dance. He's sitting there talking about how every Bulls home game, on the bus ride over, he was smoking a cigar before the game
Yeah.
on the team bus.
Yep.
I mean, that's one of the coolest
He's-
things you could
amazing.
possibly
he's
do.
the
I
ultimate.
mean,
He's the ultimate man.
he's the ultimate lizard. I mean, I'm listening to that, and here I am watching The Captain of Derek Jeter. Great documentary. I didn't even know he's a cigar smoker until Pagoda just said that.
And I meaning the only person who can really confirm is him. He's welcome to come and chime in into the podcast if he needs to. But there was
work-
a guy called Rush
I'll
who
work
used to
on
work
it.
there, and he kind of mentioned that, and it was really interesting. And I've seen him because a lot of the Yankees used to hang out at Merchants after the games, and I'm talking about like late '90s, early 2000s. I'm dating myself here, but yeah.
Merchants, by the way, legendary cigar bar in New York
Oh, yeah.
City.
Yeah, it's still around.
Well, yeah. I mean, it closed for 4 years. It reopened. It's not what it was, but it's still a good spot to check out.
So yeah, watch the Captain. Very entertaining. Yeah, Derek Jeter's a legend for sure. All right, guys, you ready to do the formal liquor rating on the Yamato Japanese Whiskey?
Not in either of them. No, I'm just kidding.
All right, Grinder, you're up.
I'm a 3.
Wow,
Whoa.
that is the lowest. All right, let's just say that's the lowest score ever given on a cigar or a liquor ever on the podcast.
I would give a Balmore Scotch like a 1 or a 2. I rank this just above it. That's
Wow.
why I gave a 3.
Wow,
Welcome back, Grinder.
I love it.
Ooh.
Pagoda,
I did drink a whole glass, so I'll say it's a 6.
okay. Senator
5.
Yeah,
Poobah,
yeah. I'd say a 5.
I'm absolutely at the same place. 5 since the first sip.
I mean, the reason I give it a 5, I did drink it. It's not undrinkable.
Yeah.
But there's nothing all that pleasurable
What is
about
that? 4.8?
Wow, nice job. 4.8.
I think it's funny how these pairings are working out when we rate the cigar. You've got, it's funny. They just seem to work out in a very weird way. Now we're
They
going to
really
go to
do.
this cigar that really nothing stood out for the Scotch or whatever you want to call it, Japanese whiskey.
To Pooba's
Let's
point,
see
I
what
think
stood out with this cigar.
to Pooba's point, I think I'm going to start taking a quick sip of whatever we're pairing, and I'll know what the cigar is going to be like for the rest of the episode.
I wonder how the gin episode is going to turn out.
Probably not that good for you guys, but
I'm coming in with an open mind for sure. All right, boys, you ready to rate the Atabey Brujos Robusto?
Yeah.
Let's do it. Rooster, you're up.
All right, so it's not a bad cigar. It's definitely smokable. It's got some attributes. It's constructed well. I enjoyed the flavors. Would I go out and buy a box? I don't think I would. I mean, somebody gifted me one, I would smoke one.
Unless Bam Bam shared it with you.
But so I'm gonna give it a 6.
Poobah.
I don't know. I'm tempted to even go lower than that, but because it was so constructed so well, I don't think I can. I'll give it a 6 as well. It's not a 5, but it's a 6. It's a 6.
Senator.
I'm in the exact same boat at a 6, and the construction is what got me to a 6, I think, similar to Poobah. But the reality is, for the flavor this delivers, there are cheap yard cigars that I've had that have delivered as much or more flavor than this cigar. I would never smoke this
Yeah,
again.
that's to Grinder's point. Pagoda.
Yeah, 6. Pretty much the same. what's really interesting about this is that there is some weight, obviously, given to the construction, the smokability. It's so easy to smoke. It is creamy, um, but considering the price point, I think 6 is a pretty good rating. I think.
Grinder.
I'm a 5. I think it was. I don't really care about construction as much. I've seen pretty shoddy made cigars that don't have invisible seams, are a little rustic, and smoke amazing, and I enjoy it. I enjoyed this, but I didn't. It's just so underwhelming. I'm a 5.
I think one thing, just quickly, I know you're going to give the composite rating that I didn't mention, we didn't really get to talk about. The first half of this cigar, a lot of us described how creamy and sweet and dessert like, but light this cigar was. The second half of this cigar, for me, especially the last third,
It's just smoke.
lost all of the creaminess. This last third is not
Yep.
creamy. I
Yep.
would not at all describe it that way. It lost some of those sweet dessert like flavors that it started with. So, another problem for me, if I even was chasing this really mild, creamy, a bit slightly sweet cigar, it doesn't hold that all the way through. The last third for me, I'm not getting anything other than tobacco. I
Yep.
mean, that's really it. So that's also a problem for me.
So I'm in the same place. I was gonna give this a 7 until the last third. You nailed exactly what I was gonna say. The last third to me has been completely dull. So I'm gonna go with a 6 here for sure. And that makes the Composite Lizard score a 5.8.
Is that the lowest?
I don't know if it's
It's
the
got to be
low-
one of the lowest.
It's
It's not the lowest.
It's not lower
It's-
than the La Punta.
La Punta was in the 4s, I think.
Oh, really? Oh.
So, I mean, this cigar, like in the Atabey series, a lot of guys talk about that we should try the Lancero. I don't know how much better the Lancero can be from this, but you know how in the QD line, like the Coronas Claro is like a totally different cigar. Maybe the Lancero might be worth a shot.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can't wait to get all Connecticut wrapper. It'll be
Yeah,
perfect.
I'm not dropping.
So-
30
Yeah,
bucks
I don't
for it.
know.
Just to answer the questions, by the way, the lowest rated cigar we've done on the pod was episode 13, the Hoya de Nicaragua, Antonio, which was a 5.0. My Father the Judge was a 5.6, and the La Punta that we just mentioned was a 5.9. So this is just a little under the La Punta, actually,
That
at a
sounds about right.
5.8.
Yeah.
Boy, that's for this price point and the way the cigars rolled and everything. Maybe there's an audience for this, but I don't know who it is.
Yeah, certainly not in this room. That's for sure.
So those listeners that are asking us to review it, we reviewed it.
Yep.
And
It's a 5.8.
I mean,
Yeah.
buy a Hemingway.
Yeah.
buy anything else.
I don't know.
I mean,
It's not a value stick.
no, it's
No.
certainly
Yeah,
not.
I mean, look, I just want to say, if it sounds too good to be true, there's something wrong, right? I just every single cigar that comes with this hype around it, I've been disappointed by.
It's a gimmick.
I
Yeah.
really like some of the
100%.
best cigars that we have found that we love are not cigars that are overly hyped or anything of that sort. We've heard, so this was supposed to be the Cuban Killer. Clearly, it is not.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How
not.
many
Yeah.
cigars, New World, have we heard? The Padron Killer.
Yep.
We reviewed some Monte Cristo anniversary thing they had put out.
Number 2
That's-
of the year.
Yeah, number 2 of the year. That's not
Yeah.
a Padron
You know,
Killer. It's
you know
just not.
what's
And then it's unexpected cigars. Like we review this EP Carrillo El Senador, and we're like, this may be the most Padron-like thing we've actually had outside of Padron, and we gave it a pretty good rating. No, there was zero hype about that
How
cigar.
about the
It was just a
Illusion or
random
the
thing.
or the
Illusion,
yeah.
another great
or
example.
the Foundation Tabernacle?
The Illusion was a really terrific cigar, and I know nothing. I had no preconceived notions, and I still don't even know anything about Illusion. I know little about this Atabey besides the designer of the band and whatever, and some of that controversy. If this was a good cigar, I certainly would have said so.
Yeah.
But to me, not that big of a standout.
what was disappointing
At
to me
all.
was I actually enjoyed the one we had. What was that? 2 years ago now? 3
With the
Three.
Toro?
3 years. I guess 3 years ago, right?
Yeah.
2 years maybe. And this didn't even meet that.
I was gonna ask you. I'm glad you brought that up.
I like
because
that.
How did it compare to the Toro?
Well, I mean, it was so long ago, but
Yeah.
what I remember liking that, and liking it enough to be like, okay, I want to smoke more of these. I
Yeah.
don't ever want to smoke this
Yeah,
again.
and we're also under the
I'm
microscope
so
here.
I have a slightly different perspective. I mean, I didn't like that cigar. And so for me, that's why I was hoping, I mean, truly rooting for this cigar to be better than my experience then, because my issue with it was the construction was great. Like it checked all the rudimentary boxes, but the flavor, and I had said this to Grinder at the time, it just left me wanting
It
so
fell short.
much more.
Yeah, it felt very
So
short.
for me, this is a problem within the line. It's not just this one cigar that we had. This is exactly what I remember my first experience with an Atabey being.
Yeah.
Is it having? Does anyone know if it's having commercial success?
I mean, from a hype standpoint, I want to say yes, but I don't know.
But I haven't seen it in CA's ratings high. Has it been high anywhere?
I don't think it's terribly available. I don't think it's a cigar you find. I even at the B&M that Grinder got it at today, they got it there like 2 or 3 weeks ago. So I think it's just coming into being available, pretty regularly.
Yeah, it's a boutique brand.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah,
that
and it's
big.
clearly well marketed because you ask
Yeah.
people about this
A lot
cigar
of
and
hype.
they like think it's this holy grail of New World cigars, and I'm sorry, it's just not.
Yeah.
You know,
It's the
kinda
first
like
third
the
was certainly better. No doubt.
Sans Pareil.
Yeah.
But their
Also-
cigars are much better than this.
Yeah.
I mean, I will.
But
give
they're
them
also
that.
over, really
Grossly
hyped.
overpriced.
Yeah,
I mean,
hyped-
50
hyped
bucks
as
a
well.
stick.
Yeah.
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 All right, boys. 5.8 on the Atabey Brujos Robusto. Thanks to our host, our clubhouse, our lounge, 1086. Grinder, thanks for grabbing the cigar, the Japanese whiskey. And we'll see you guys next week.
Keep smoking.
Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to leave us a rating and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. If you have any comments, questions, if you want to reach out, say hello, tell us what you're smoking, email us, loungelizardspod, P-O-D, that's loungelizardspod@gmail.com. You can also find us on Instagram @loungelizardspod. We really appreciate your time, and we'll see you next week.